Hey guys, welcome to the Coffee and Jesus channel. It is so amazing that you guys are here. I wanted to just talk to you guys tonight. Um, Earlier today, I went to the gym, and before I went to the gym, I just decided to journal. You know, a lot of thoughts that are just going through my head and just life and pursuing the Lord in such a world where it's kind of looked down upon to follow God. And so I think that the biggest question I had was, how do I find God? And I've been in a place in my life where, life was so hard and I had to rely on people to make me happy. And, I would do things for people and see the reaction and just know that I made someone happy. And that's what I relied on, is making other people happy. I pursued that for such a long time. I was a people pleaser. What that did for me was it did a lot of damage because I was chasing after a man's approval, everything that I had, fought after, everything that, gave me happiness. It was from a person. Like, if I weren't making someone happy, if not everybody loved me, if not everybody saw me, I felt like I was left out of the picture. I felt like I was a misfit. And that was something that I was struggling with for so long, is how can I genuinely be happy if I have to please other people? And the answer is, you'll never be able to please people, and that's just what I had to battle every day, is how do I make someone happy? And I was looking at it wrong. I was trying to make so many people happy when I was missing out on the whole objective, is what God wanted for me. Because when you understand what God wants for you, your whole idea on life flips around. When we understand that we have a God that loves us and wants a plan for us, like in Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans for you, the plans to prosper, the plans to give you a life." When people think of God, they think of like someone who's controlling their life. And it's not Him controlling your life. It's Him shaping your life into something that is far better than we could do. When you think of it like God and humans, we are like a speck. If you really think about it, we're like a speck trying to understand an infinite being, God, who is so beautiful and so undescribable. Like, I think the more I try to figure out things about God, reading the Bible, His character, Him sending Himself down as Jesus, I understand that I know less and less about Him every single day. And it's just the funniest thing. You would think that if you study God more, you'll know more about Him. But I just realize every time I study who God is, how much He loves me, I get even more into the understanding of God is so much bigger than I will ever comprehend. We are His creation. And so I had to understand that to get over people pleasing, because I think people pleasing is the biggest thing for everyone. If someone, in everything, everybody always seeks after approval somewhere. And I was seeking for the approval of people. And that's where my source of happiness, that's where my source of joy came from. And honestly, it was good, but I had to realize that that's not like everlasting joy. That's a temporary joy. That joy can get taken away. If someone decides they don't like you, what are you going to do about it? You can't just people please your way out of it. They're not going to like you, and you can't rely on them. But all that to say is, the source of happiness that was true and actually fulfilling was understanding that God wants me. He loves me. And He wants my attention. God wants me to give my attention to Him. God wants me to please Him. And not, He doesn't want me to please people. Because, people are sinful. I'm a sinner. You're a sinner. The only sinless person is Jesus, right? So why would I try to strive after a world who crucified Jesus for my happiness? They crucified, this world crucified a perfect man. And to try to find my happiness from that world who crucified a perfect man, from the world that crucified a perfect man, finding happiness from there is just a false source. So crazy, guys. I'm at the beach right now, and the train's about to come by. You're going to hear it in a second. There we go. Choo-choo. Wow. So cool. But yeah, guys, Real happiness and real like pleasure comes from enjoying the Lord. And you know what's so funny is we have a God who is jealous. And people might think of that like, what the heck? Why would God be jealous? But we have a jealous God who wants all of us. He doesn't want 50% of us. He wants 100% of us. And that is so cool. He's a God who, you know, like if I were to give God 50%, he's like, nah. I want all of you, bro. And he wants all of you. And so to think of that, just like sit back on that for a second. God doesn't want like half of you. He wants all of you. He loves you so much. And the one desire that God has for mankind or for humans is for us to worship him. And it's not just lifting your hands up in church. That's a sign of worship, but that's not like what he's talking about. Worship isn't just lifting your hands up in church. Worship is what it says in Romans 12, is being a living sacrifice, is presenting your body as a living sacrifice to God, pleasing to the eyes of God. So that when God looks at you, he says, that's my son. That's my daughter who I'm well pleased in. When we understand that God actually wants us, he actually loves us and desires to have an actual relationship with him, why wouldn't you fight for that? You know, when I put my faith in man, they'll let me down. But when I put my faith in God, it is the best source. When I put the faith in the one who created me, that is so reliable. Yeah, we really need to be just on our game with devoting our lives to God. Because, you know, there's this world where, man, there's so much. There's so much this world offers. But when you understand that anything you do in this world, like especially for my age, like I'm 18, guys, and I'm seeing all of these people my age partying, drinking, smoking, doing things that are just harming themselves. When we sin, we're separating ourselves from him, and our sin leads to destruction. And it's not God condemning someone, but when you question like, God, why do I feel this way? Why am I so sad? Why am I angry all the time? Why am I filled with all of these emotions? Why can't I just feel at peace? Well, maybe because you have hindrances in your life. Maybe you have things in your life that are disconnecting you from God. And that God's saying, I don't want 50% of you. I want 100% of you. And I've had things in my life. I still am continuing to remove things in my life that are blocking me from being connected with God. And I will never fully be connected with God until I'm in heaven. But we're on this mission, this hunt to just strive to be closer to God. And I think that it's easier to be close with God when you understand that God sent himself down as Jesus. It says he empties himself out into human form to take on mankind, to die for you, just so you can know him and have an intimate relationship with him. And when you understand the gift of that sacrifice, it changes how you think about life. Your life is no longer just something you live to die for. You're now living to live for something even greater. When you know the gospel and it's so good and it overflows you, how could you hide it?